All right. I guess it began. I guess the electrons are flowing. Yeah, around everything. Okay, cool. Amazing. Um, you'll never guess what happened. What the hell? Where is it? Okay, cool. All right. So we're here. Good. Welcome to Sunday Night Lives, Monday Morning Live, now live. And of course, the interface between me and the cyber world is very what do you call it, dysfunctional relationship. Yeah. So anyway, when I'm here, how to get healthy again, already on insulin, but it's not happening. Like I'm injecting water. So okay, need words of wisdom. Okay, for sure. Where to buy ivermectin? No, can't. Okay, all right. So all these questions, very good. Anyway, I'm glad you're all here, and I'm apologize for being an idiot, but I was just born that way, and I grew up that way. So, I'm 47, and I've never been properly diagnosed. Excellent. Don't get diagnosed. Don't get diagnosed. RA runs on both sides of your family. No, nothing runs on both sides of your family except blood and lymph and hormones and stuff like that. Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do to everyone. I really think it's gonna require LSD to break this linguistic prison that we're in. That you're in. I'm not there because I'm lucky. I was born somehow not there. I learned, but it's insane. Okay, so I'm going to answer those questions. Let me just do this stuff I have to do. Find the questions. There they are. Great. We got the questions. Okay, cool. All right. So as a reminder to us all is that about this format. This format is questions have been sent in previously, and I'm going to answer them. So unfortunately, I can't dialogue, virtually with you all because I have to respect the people that sent in their questions. So that's why please join these groups. These groups: Health and Healing, the Parasite group, and the CFC group. CFC, for those of you who are new, are you listening? Are you new? Are you new? Stop writing for a second. Okay, stop asking all these questions and listen for a second. CFCs, chronically fermenting cells, are what tumors are. Okay, they're chronically fermenting cells. They're not astrological signs. They're not They're not Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, or Cancer. Okay, they're chronically fermenting cells. So CFCs. Okay, don't use that word again. Another word. So anyway, but we have a CFC group, we have a Health and Healing group, and a Parasite group. Okay, and join them so we can interact. That's what we do. Like tomorrow is our group. I think it's the Health and Healing group. But if you're a member of the Parasite group or the CFC group, you have automatic membership in the Health and Healing, so you'll be able to be there. So it's tomorrow at same time, hopefully not late, at the same time, wherever you are, that we should have started today. So, uh, and for all the members who are in the CFC group, just as a reminder, we're not going to have our meeting this week because it happens to fall on your New Year's Eve, and I was assuming that you might not want to be talking to me on New Year's Eve. You might be celebrating the new year. Actually, we'll do that another time. Okay. So that's the thing. Now, if you have CFCs right now and you're not doing well, or even if you are doing well but you want to you feel like you need help and guidance, my clinic in the U.S. An Oasis of Healing is alive and well, and people are pretty happy there. So that's in Arizona, and An Oasis of Healing. Make sure you put that "and" in there when you go on the internet. By the way, if you an easier way of searching it would be, because I have to use this word. I'm sorry. Stopmakingcancer.com. Stopmakingcancer.com. That'll take you to our website in the U.S. But anyway, An Oasis Feeling. So okay. So now, and in this group, remember the other thing. Like one of the members said that their favorite Zoom interaction that they have on their weekly is on Tuesdays with Darren and Vanessa, because they are amazing. Okay, so you get a lot of interactional. I guess it falls under the category content, but a chance to interact and ask questions and do that, instead of just learning from some webinar stuff they put up, or articles to read, because we have all that stuff too, but the main thing is the interaction. And then you join a Telegram group that's for your group, whether it's CFC, Parasite, or Health and Healing. And in that Telegram group is all of us, and it's a lot of really amazing people, because they've been down this road for a long time, and they share resources, and it's just amazing. So join so we can interact. However, talk about angina and heart symptoms versus GERD. These are fantastic questions. My God, you guys got to get on drlodi.com, drlodi.com. Go there and join these groups, okay? Too Far, UK. Where am I living now? This is where I've lived a long time, right just next to the Gulf of Thailand, on a place called Thailand. Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty fantastic. Yeah, pretty fantastic. No, not pretty fantastic. Incredibly fantastic. How's that? All right. So anyway, join these groups so that we can interact. It's so important, because you have such good questions, and I'd like to talk about them. But I owe the other real quickly. GERD, the GERD versus GERD is a gastroesophageal reflux disease. Okay, the word disease, and all it means is that you have an incompetent lower sphincter here, and stomach acid is getting into the esophagus, and it burns, and that's not going to mimic angina, however you want to pronounce it. Okay, it's not going to mimic it. Okay, what does mimic completely a heart attack is esophageal spasm. People that get esophageal spasm and you're in the emergency room, the doctors won't know the difference without doing an EKG and some blood tests. It's that close. But just the GERD is going to be clear that it's GERD and it's not angina. Angina means there's decreased blood flow through your coronary arteries, and so your heart's not getting enough blood, which means it's not getting enough oxygen, which means it's not making enough energy, and it starts to inflame. And what are one of the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation? Pain. And that pain is not, it's a deep, crushing, squeezing pain. All right. Anyway. So there we are. So, and as you know, we're on all the social medias, even TalkTick Talk Tick, and they let me on again for a little while, but they won't let me say anything. If I say anything like other than today is Monday or Sunday, depending where you are, um, they'll delete it. Yeah, that's Talk Tick. Yeah, pisses me off. Anyway, so but we're on there, and at TikTok and X, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. You got to put the MD at the end. All the other ones, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, etc., are at Dr. Thomas Lodi, at Dr. Thomas Lodi. Okay, right. That's that. So we did all the stuff, right? Right. So here it says, please like, follow, share this live, and subscribe to our channel so you'll receive notifications every time we go live or post new content. All right, cool. Do that. Now, let's get into some questions. What was that one thing? Anyway, okay, before I do that, I'm gonna say something that applies to everybody with any question you might have, whether you sent it in previously or you have a question right now that's arising. Okay, and that's this thing, diagnosis. You have to understand what diagnosis means. Okay, the word diagnosis, dia, means to separate and distinguish, and gnosis, Gnosis, means to know, to understand, to know. So how do you separate and know something? By naming it. If you name it, it is. And if you don't have a name, which a word, because the words are psychic scaffolding that differentiate and distinguish the entire universe into one thing. So you're looking at the universe, and we go shoe, horse, computer, mom, dad. All right. But you need the word for the concept to exist. I mean, there's to be aware of a concept without having a word having taken you there is not possible in the way that we think. All of us think, and we all think with what can be best described as spotlight consciousness. All right, we don't have awareness. Awareness is what we want to develop by taking away all the words. Here's the bizarre thing. We need to learn words to have knowledge, to be able to figure out that we don't want words and knowledge, right? Because at the end, what do you want to do? You want to meditate and get rid of the words. And when you meditate and you get to the point of just pure awareness, then you're able to understand all things without the specifics. And I won't get into that, how that's, because it's very mystical and stuff. So, but in any case, words are it. So when you get a diagnosis, they've just told you you're done. You're done. Right now, you don't have one. All you know, if you don't have a diagnosis, in other words, you haven't been, and remember, the way in which diagnoses are given, it's it's sorcery. All right. It's in a specific place. You don't get a diagnosis on the street. You get a diagnosis in a doctor's office, right? Or at the bedside while you're, right? And they pronounce these words. You are boom. And that's it. Once they say that, that's it. Forget it. You'll never get that out. It bypasses your intellect, goes right into your heart, and it stays there forever. Okay. And it's a self-fulfilling thing, because why? Because you get told that you are diabetes at the age of 22. Now, if I were to run into you at the age of 62, you'd still have diabetes because you were diagnosed. I don't care what you do. Don't buy it. Just make sure that your body no longer needs to be insulin resistant by not eating a lot of glucose. It's really simple. It's so simple. People don't like it. People want to get a thing to take to fix it. There's no it. Okay. So don't get a diagnosis. Just realize that you're imbalanced and that you need to restore physiology. That's it. You got to remember that. That's all we need to do ever, forever. And we only use that language. So we don't use treatment. You don't use treatment to restore balance, right? It doesn't make sense, right? And what's your prognosis? Your prognosis. What does that mean? Prognosis. Prognosis. What does that mean? That means, can you predict the future? And the answer is no. Can anyone predict the future? No. I mean, we do. We say, look, I'll be at your house at 9 o'clock, and you show up at 9 o'clock. So you predicted the future. Well, it's just that your mind just happened to coincide with the reality, but it could have easily not have happened. You could have gotten the car and the car didn't work, and then you finally got the car fixed. Then you run into you get an accident, and then whatever, and then you don't get there. So anyway, don't get a diagnosis. Restore health, and let's talk about how to restore health. We'll do that in a minute. Let's get going. Jimmy's the first one, and the topic is pituitary macroadenoma. An MRI this week revealed I have a pituitary macroadenoma measuring 2.4 centimeters. I initially went for the MRI to possibly reveal why I had sensory neural hearing loss, bilateral. Can I do anything other than surgery that goes through the nostril with an endoscope? My fear is that the tumor will reappear somewhere else in the body. Help. Okay. So Jimmy, first of all, pituitary adenomas, and they're calling it, they're usually microadenomas. They're calling this a macroadenoma. What does that say? In the pituitary, there's an adenoma. What is an adenoma? An adenoma is a growth that originates in the gland adenoma. You can have a adenoma in the breast, in the pancreas, in the liver, in the colon, any organ that has a gland. If it starts to increase in size, right, it becomes an adenoma or something. Now, just because it's enlarged, it's called an oma. You put oma at the end. All right. And those cells don't necessarily have to be fermenting. They don't necessarily have to be malignant. And so most pituitary adenomas are not malignant. They are benign. Benign meaning they're not CFCs, but they're just growing more than usual, more than is healthy. Okay, so or standard, normal. And so your macroadenoma means it's larger than the micros, right? So it's 2.4 centimeters, which is large for a pituitary growth. So your fear that it will appear somewhere else in the body is, you can relax. That's not, because it's not malignant. It's an adenoma, not an adenocarcinoma. It's not an adenocarcinoma. It's an adenoma, and therefore it doesn't metastasize and it doesn't spread. Okay, important to understand. Now, here's the thing with these pituitary adenomas. They are, you really almost have to go with surgery on these. There's no way really to, in any comfortable period of time, make them resolve and go away. All right, it would take, because remember, these are not chronically fermenting cells. So anyway, so the surgery in this case, especially with it being that size. Now, sensory neural hearing loss, for those who don't know what that means, that just means that the hearing loss is from the nerve, from the auditory nerve, which is cranial nerve number 7, right? So you can have hearing loss due to, like if your eardrum is ruptured, the hearing is going to be less. Why? Because how does hearing work? Sound waves vibrate that eardrum tympanic membrane, and it is connected to these three little bones. They're really amazing little bones, and those bones connect to the inner ear. So the waves hit the eardrum, and the eardrum sends that uh, that wave, that energy through those bones, and that bone touches um, the, the brain where where the auditory apparatus is, and that converts that wave into an electrical signal, which goes to the auditory part of your brain, and you say, "Ah, here's something." That's how that works. All right. So if I had a problem with those little bones or the ear, like for example, if I had a lot of wax in my ear or something in my ear and the sound couldn't even get in, anything that's blocking my hearing, that before the brain, the auditory portion of the brain, is called conductive hearing loss. You're not able to conduct the sound. But if you can conduct the sound and then there's a problem because it's in the brain, it's called sensory neural. That's all that means. Okay. And bilateral. So bilateral is now you can also get sensory neural hearing loss um, over time. Like people that are older, a lot of times don't hear uh, certain certain sounds, and or people that work have occupations where they're, uh, like where there's loud sounds, like someone who would operate a jackhammer. It, right, that's going to do that over time. Or if you go to a lot, if you're a rock and roll um, musician, right, playing a lot of playing really loud music all the time, and you're right there in the middle of it all, that's going to uh, basically what it's doing is it's overworking your hearing apparatus. And remember, if our any part of our body is getting a stimulus which is too much, causing damage, our body goes whoa, and it prevents that from happening. And so there becomes a sensory neural stress, which causes an inflammatory process, and over time it can damage the nerve. And so people that are exposed to loud sounds throughout their lives, a lot of loud sounds are going to wind up with a hearing loss and a sensory neural. Now, in your case, it could come back unless if there was no damage, if it's just being compressed right now by by the adenoma. But I would definitely, just go for it. And just, the one thing you want to do if you're ever going to get any procedure, especially this one, but anyone, is find out how many do you do of these procedures do you do a week, a day? Because if they're not doing it all the time, you don't want them. I don't care if they're famous. They're famous for something else, obviously not this. Right? So you find somebody, you say, okay, then can I speak to one of your colleagues who does this particular procedure all the time? Because that's what you want. You want someone to go in there smoothly and do this. All right, very, very important. Okay, you understand, Jimmy? I hope. Okay, this is Mara. Breast CFCs. Okay, there's no such thing as good. You love our posts. Excellent, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I got a great team. So uh, that's how it happens. So Mara is asking about breast CFCs. What topical salves do you recommend for someone who is already doing all the other protocols, raw food diet, detoxification, hormone, immune, psychospiritual, yay, but still has a 5+ centimeter breast tumor just under the surface of the skin? I have tried Valasta cream, ozonated olive oil salve, calendula creams, and still experience irritation and pain. Okay, so Mara, I'm assuming that you already saw the biological dentist and had all that taken care of, okay? Because you're doing all this, I assume you've done that and it's been taken care of. You've done it for sure, 100%. And you said detoxification. So remember, the one thing about detoxification for everyone is that it's not something we do and then we're done. I mean, that's because toxins build up all the time, every day. Every day they build up. And there are different kinds of toxins that come from the outside, whether it's food or water, air, stuff we put on our bodies, clothing, so, any kind of that kind of toxin. There's also metabolic endogenous toxins that we are not toxins, but waste that we produce. And just by normal metabolism, right? And then eating and stuff, we have our, we have feces, urine has to be coming out. The skin has to be really, healthy so that it can, because it's one of the excretory organs, right? It excretes lots of nasty stuff, um, which is good in the sweat. That's how it comes out. All right. That's why it's good to sweat. Sweating is detoxing. So we need to, detoxification is something we do all the time, right? And we do that. One of the ways of doing that is by eating once a day, or at most twice a day, within a 4 to 6 hour window, so that all the other time you're not eating. And when you're not eating, what does your body do? It cleans. It's a perfect. If you had to have a uh, like a maid, or not a maid, someone who managed your household, right? So when they're like uh, busy, what do you? I don't know. What do people? How do you manage a household? Arranging things and preparing food and all that sort of thing. But when they're not doing that, they're cleaning. Okay, and that's what our body does. Okay, if we're not keeping it busy with feeding it, which is the only way you keep it busy, if you stop feeding your body, it doesn't have to assimilate all that stuff. So it just spends all of its energy on cleansing. So every day when you don't eat for 18 to 20 hours or 22 hours, however long your uh, not eating period is, um, that whole period is cleansing, cleaning, metabolic cleansing, which is absolutely important and necessary. Okay. Now, then of course, then you do a prolonged juice cleanse or a water fast, right? Um, and it's ongoing. So I hope it's a long way to say I hope you're doing the detoxification all the time. Your hormones are balanced, and your immune system is balanced. So it's hard to get all these things really done right. It's psychospiritual. You're meditating 5 times a day, and you know how to do that. So there's a lot of stuff in food and diet. So we yeah, I get it. So you're probably doing all that. So if you're doing all of that and you've learned to turn off the mind and you've gotten rid of all the toxins, it can't be there. So therefore, yeah, I think your whatever you're doing for immune balance or immune restoration, our immune system gets imbalanced, from everything from EMF, but everything, a lot of things. Um, Stress, psychological stress is a powerful way to imbalance the immune system. However, um, whenever things are not going away, they're not progressing. When we're talking about CFCs, it's because we haven't got all the toxins eliminated, which initiate the whole process of CFCs, and or the immune system is being crippled. Otherwise, if those are happening, it can't be there anymore. So remember that. Now, the thing about the immune system is that uh, it's made of many different kinds of cells, and these cells produce chemicals that are called cytokines and interleukins that signal the other cells in the immune system to act in certain ways. All right, and so for example, natural killer cells secrete lots of different things, but one of the important things they produce, cytokine they produce, is called gamma interferon. And gamma interferon is the waker upper. It calls, okay, everyone, we got a problem going on here, and it just gets everybody there. It brings the whole immune system there. So that's one of the things, but it also has to do with the activity of the NK cell. So if the NK cell, natural killer cell, is inactivated, it won't produce that gamma interferon. You won't have that the recruitment and what you need, right? You need that for your immune system. Now, even if everything is as balanced as much as possible, when the immune system shows up at the tumor microenvironment, it can get inactivated. Now, one of the things that to keep in mind is that there are certain pathways that you've heard of, and they call them oncogenes, but they're not. Okay, yeah, let's call them oncogenes, but they have not. Okay, anyway, so and pathways, biochemical pathways. So we know about mTOR, which is going to support the growth. and so we want to turn that down, the mTOR pathway, and then we know about the AMP kinase pathway, AMPK. It's AMP with an activated kinase. You want that up, but tumors turn that down. Why do you want that up? Because that AMP kinase uh, suppresses the tumor microenvironment's ability to disable the immune system, number one. Number two, the AMP kinase, it does everything. Everything that's uh, uh, going down the pathway to produce CFCs, AMP kinase is kind of, you know, managing it. So you want to get that up. Fasting does that. There's lots of ways to get your AMP kinase up. And yeah, and you know, and it restores balance. I mean, it gives the energy to all of the, like, in other words, it turns down angiogenesis. It turns down that proliferative process. It turns on uh, oxidative phosphorylation. So AMP kinase is amazing. So we want to bring that up. So that's one thing we got to do. So all of the so you're doing all these things. So realize that there's just something we're missing, Mara. That's all. There's something we're missing that we need to go a little bit further. However, in response to your question, though, you want something topically, and I get that. All right. So now Velasta cream, and so it didn't work. In other words, it didn't. Uh, Now, ozonated olive oil salves are. Uh, it's very difficult because ozone doesn't stay in the state of ozone, which is a very reactive. I mean, the reason ozone is so oxidative and destroys things, which is why you want it in your water, you know, so that you can swim. You should ozonate your swimming pool instead of chlorinate it. Um, is because it's extremely unstable. It just rips apart everything. So it's really hard to keep it ozone in a state where it's active like that, because it's going to do what it has to do, and it's, you're right, because it needs electrons. It's going to grab them from everywhere. So even though you've got it in olive oil, it's not that stable. So I don't know how strong that ultimately that is, what you have, the ozonated olive oil, when it was like, if you could make it like immediately from your ozone machine, it's probably better. Um, and that's it. And calendula creams and stuff like that. So, and you're getting pain. So the other things for tumors, especially breast, are the Lugol's 7%, Lugol's liquid 7%, really important, and DMSO. You can get a DMSO topical, or if you just get a pure DMSO and just make sure that the area is very, very clean, you know, and then you put it on. The problem with DMSO is it can irritate the skin, and that can be a problem. So probably can't use that, you know, daily. You can also use it to carry in things. So if you put on, for example, you put the Lugol's on, and with the DMSO, it can carry it in. Now, why? Because the Lugol's 7% iodine. There's Lugol's is a combination of iodide, potassium iodide, which is an anion, right? Iodide, meaning it has an extra electron. It's sharing it with the potassium. And then there's iodine, which is two iodine atoms together, and that's called molecular iodine, because it's in it forms a molecule. Those two i's together become stable, right? The sharing of that electron, now they're stable, and it's in a molecular form. It's stable, but it's the I2 that actually will eliminate the tumor in many, many ways. In fact, the same ways that when you some of you who are older will remember that when you were a child, if you got a cut or bleeding or problem, your mother would give you iodine. You put iodine on it, and you don't get infected. Or if you have an infection, so why is that? Well, the mechanism by which the iodine kills the microorganism, it also does that with tumors, the I2. And the other thing the I2 is going to do is it's going to influence the metabolism of estrogen into healthy metabolites, so that won't stimulate the growth. So very, very important. But um, and if we had enough iodine, by the way, this is very important to listen to. A glioblastoma out the whatever wherever the tumor in your body has begun. Okay, don't think of it as being a type. It's called it's just location. That's all. It's the same process. It's the same process. It's aerobic respiration, aerobic glycolysis, aerobic fermentation. That's what it is. Otherwise, it's not a CFC. Like that pituitary adenoma, there's no aerobic glycolysis going on. There's no fermentation. All right. So remember, what you got to understand is that everything we do that we need to do to restore mitochondrial function so that the cell no longer has to ferment, which is the fundamental basic thing that happens that results in a tumor. Restore mitochondrial function. And there's, that's a whole, intense protocol. But whatever we have to do, whether it's glioblastoma, whether it's pancreatic, whether it's melanoma, it doesn't matter where the oma is or the carcinoma is. It's the location is different, but what it's doing metabolically is the same. It's called the Warburg effect. Okay, so therefore, everything we do for this, we would do for that. The only differences are if the particular organ or tissues involved are have some are influenced uniquely. Like, for example, breast, uterine, prostate are heavily influenced by estrogen. So you've got to be aware of the hormones and work with that. But on the other hand, we've got estrogen receptors in our brain and our colon and our pancreas and our stomach, everywhere anyway. But it's more of a direct effect. So, but anyway, that's why we would bring it up. We would make it balanced. So if I had a glio, if I had a melanoma or I had pancreatic, I still need to balance the hormones because there are estrogen receptors in all these places, and you don't want to you don't want to have a high estradiol or estrone, and not be balanced. Okay, so anyway, so for Mara, the 7% Lugol's DMSO, and it sounds like it's nice that it's under the skin. It doesn't sound like it's hasn't come through the surface. That's great. But those are the main ones. Now let me just tell you how powerful iodine is. I had a woman in at Oasis in Arizona who had surgery. She had a mastectomy, and as a result, there was local seeding, and her entire chest wall had these really hard dermal based, right, deeper in not the epidermis, but just a little bit deeper in the skin, based metastases all over. And what happened? Why am I intolerant to vitamin C? Intolerant to vitamin C. Ooh, I gotta answer. I'll answer that question. You're not. But anyway, anyway, so she had these all over. I mean, they were like there had to be 30 of them. Hard. And not, I'd say what? A half to 1 centimeter, so fairly large. Anyway, painted it with the Lugol's, and I don't know, 6 weeks, I think. I don't remember. They were all gone. So it does really, really work. But remember, Mara and everyone, the most important thing is from the inside out. The outside. The outside, we can try to get things in through the outside, and since it's breast and it's reachable, we can get to it, which is different than if it was in the spleen or the stomach or the pancreas. So we can get to it. Yeah, let's do whatever we can. And there is if you wanted to go, when we do integrative oncology, means we're going to use the best of all of all modality, of all disciplines, because we're going to say we realize that there's no one modality that has all the answers, right? So we need to acknowledge that and respect it, right? So you got a broken leg, your femur's broken. I mean, it's very painful. The bones coming through the skin. Uh, that's when you need to go see the orthopedic surgeon rather than the herbalist. However, let's say it was 200 years ago. What would you do? You'd go to a healer, and the healer is probably or has probably learned all that stuff and can set the bone. Because the whole idea with a broken bone is just to set it back into its, reapproximate the bone so it's together and confluent, and that way it'll heal. It will heal. It will heal. You don't heal it. Healing is not a transitive verb. It's not something you do. It's something that happens. So healing happens when all the things that are necessary for healing to happen are there, which is your lifestyle, what you're eating. But anyway, so we got to know, and then this is one case where I would say if we could find a good a flexible, open-minded interventional radiologist, we could say you can try to do, how big is it? You said 5 centimeters, so it's a little bit. It's too large for RFA, radio frequency ablation, but it could be for cryoablation, cryotherapy, and there's something called histotripsy, where they use sound waves to break it up and all that. So in terms of doing something from the external, externally, the iodine and all that. Wait 1 second. Well, 1 second, please. I'm sorry. Okay, so all right. Oh, thank you, Hammy. Yeah, she used to say my haircut. Yeah, yeah. It just feels like my face got bigger, but I don't think it did. So Mara, this is you, Mara, that's asking this question? The Mara I know? How can I tell who's talking to me? Which way is it? Oh, I guess it's this way, right? Is it up here? You're not even. Thank you, Catherine. I was trying to help some because there's somebody in trouble there. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm not like talking to people. I don't have friends, so I can't say I've been talking to friends, but I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, would you rather watch a tree grower listen to your knee grow Whoa. Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. About doing something externally. Um, so there's radio frequency ablation. There's the histotripsy where they use sound waves. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to from externally to break it down. But remember, if the processes, so we got to keep in mind this is not going away, which is why we're looking to do some external work. But it's not going away. Why? And it's not going away because, as I said, either in the and or haven't eliminated all the toxins and or the immune system is not balanced. And in balanced immune system, you've got to balance the hormones. You've got to balance all this stuff. So even though we're working on it, even though we're working on it, like by doing all the things, you know, of you know, balancing hormones, psychospiritual, all that stuff. Even though we're working on it, we're still not. It's not enough because as soon as it's sufficient, it will start to go away. So even if we break it up or do something with radio frequency ablation, cryotherapy, which work, those work. Um, but if we haven't stopped what's going on, it'll be back. All right. So that's definitely not the answer. Okay. Yes. Uh, how often do you have live? Oh, every week the same time, 5 p.m. Arizona time. So because they don't change their clock, so I use that 5 p.m. Arizona time on Sunday nights. Every Sunday. Yeah. Yeah. So now, um, but that's it. Um, but you've got to find an interventional radiologist who gets it. I mean, and that's really, really hard. I've only found two in all the years that I've been working with radiologists um, who are willing to do things that are not in the cookbook. Uh, you know, sorry. Okay. Um, Now, all right. So just real quick here is yes, ivermectin fenbendazole is safe with active ulcerative colitis. Yes, yes, yes. However, you need to restore your gut biome, and the ulcerative colitis won't be there. Ulcerative colitis is a name they're using for an extreme dysbiosis, which means an imbalance in your microorganisms. That's what it is. It's just a name. There's no such thing as that. Okay, so um, let's get back to our question. There we go. Kevin, chronic topic is chronic inflammation. Was currently treated with 4 weeks of ciprofloxacin, 1.5 week break. Uh, oh wow. Hello, Lou Rock. Thank you. Uh, ooh, you guys join the groups because you have so many great questions, and I owe it to the people who submitted them to answer their questions. So join the Dr. Lodi. Go to drlodi.com, my website. Join either the CFC group, the parasite group, or the health and healing group, so we can talk. You can ask questions, and I can. And it's a weekly, right? So tomorrow we do it. Tomorrow at the same time, right? 5 p.m. Arizona time. Tomorrow, yes, okay. So anyway, just join a week and I'll answer your question. So here, chronic inflammation. I was treated with was currently treated with 4 week ciprofloxacin, 1.5 week break. Felt symptoms of lower left side back pain, urine burns, and inner hemorrhoid feeling coming back. I guess do it the break. 2 weeks bacterium. I'm not bacterium. Is that a new name for an antibiotic? I'm not sure. In use had leukocytes. Oh, I guess your urine had leukocytes. Blood, abnormal protein, but no bacteria. So your blood had your urine had some blood, abnormal protein, and no bacteria. It's not that it's abnormal protein, it's just the excess amount of protein that is in the urine. Drank a lot of water prior and constant urination, and flares up flares of ill sweats. But again, no bacteria present. Not sure what to do next. Can then things show up in urine from other things since CD, no bacteria, both times seen out and tested? Oh, and they said I have latent TB, but how do they check for soil parasite? Wow. So anyway, Kevin, let me try to address your multiple questions here. Uh, so are you great, Lou? Are you took ciprofloxacin? So I'm assuming that they determined that you have a bladder infection diagnosis, okay, which means that your bladder was maybe being colonized by an organism. Doesn't mean it, just being colonized by an organism, and there were problems associated with it. There was some irritation to the bladder, so there was some blood in the urine, and then the leukocytes or white blood cells are there because they're showing up because it's inflamed. That's what they're there. They're there to heal it. Okay, everything's there to heal it, and you could wind up with some extra protein. But they're saying they found no bacteria. Well, first of all, if they had you on an antibiotic, if you were taking an antibiotic, then your urine test is probably not going to show, most likely is not going to show any bacteria because there's not going to be there won't be a sufficient number of them to show up on a test. All right. So if you've been on an antibiotic, then it's going to be negative. Now, if you have not been on an antibiotic and there's another name called interstitial cystitis. Okay, terms. Okay, because don't let them make you think they're really smart because they're not. Cystitis, CYST, in this case refers to the bladder. Okay, remember the word cyst. If someone has a cyst, it's a fluid-filled or air-filled sac. What is a bladder? That's a fluid-filled, sometimes air-filled, sometimes fluid-filled sac. Cyst. Okay. Then itis, inflammation. Okay. So normally when they say this person has a cystitis, they're implying that there are bacteria in there and they think the bacteria caused it. But what Rudolf Virchow said 170 years ago, the microorganisms, the bacteria, and the germs are there to clean up the mess. They didn't make it. Anyway, so interstitial cystitis is when the cells between the areas between the cells, right? The kind of the connective tissue and all that stuff become inflamed. And there's a real clear and easy way to deal with that, and that is by using DMSO, transurethral, which means you'd have to have someone insert a catheter. You're a male? Yeah, Kevin. A catheter through your penis and into the bladder, and then DMSO. Now, I imagine no one's ever done this and reported it, but I imagine if you used ozone as well. But DMSO, the reason is DMSO is an extremely powerful anti-inflammatory. And what's happened is that the bladder is inflamed, and it has nothing to do with bacteria. Oh, my camera is disconnected. How the heck did that happen? Are we back yet? No, we're not back yet. And I didn't do nothing. Nothing happened. Let me unplug it and plug it back. Are we on? No. Why aren't we on? Well, wait a minute. Let me just unplug it from the other side. My God. Did that work? No. What is the story here? Come on. What is that? Instagram people. That's the smartest thing. Using Instagram. All right, so I got to exit and re-enter. Okay. What the heck? Huh? Microphone. Sorry, you guys. This is crazy. I'm really sorry. I mean, wouldn't you think we could fix this, figure this out after all this time? Where is the other one? Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know. Why would we change the microphone? That's not. All right. So, hey, you know what? Listen, let me just restart everything, okay? Because sometimes that does it. Okay. I'll just have to restart everything. Come on, we got to be on Osmo. We got to go back to the Osmo. Everybody just go to Instagram. Forget this. No, everything's fine. It gets plugged into the computer, so it's being charged all the time. Everybody go to Instagram. Why don't we just do that? Because then we don't have to worry about it. What restart? What was that restart? What? Okay, so I gotta pick up Osmo at all now. All right, so listen, everybody, just go to Instagram. Everybody go to Instagram, and let's just forget this. Otherwise, we're gonna waste the whole time. Okay, we're gonna waste the whole time doing this nonsense. It's just not showing up. Okay, so either that, or you can just listen. So I got to get back to answering questions. All right, I mean, this is insane. This is insane. Okay, and my apologies. I just, I don't know. We're ever gonna fix it, but let me just go back to answering questions because that was our purpose here. Oh, I've got to pull them up again. Okay. All right, here we are. Let's just answer questions because. All right, I'm gonna answer questions. So either you can just listen on these other ones and. Okay, where were we? My gosh, we were with Kevin, chronic inflammation. All right. So the DMSO in the bladder is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Anista, someone was gonna get to you to get to me so we can talk later. Sounds like there's a lot going on. Anyway. All right. So inflammation, because because of the germ theory, we all think that inflammation or if you're having urinary problems, it must be because there are germs doing it, right? Because that's the germ theory. And they're saying, what, you have all these problems. For example, there's something called systemic inflammatory response syndrome. That happens to people with like CFCs or really sick, where they have all the signs and symptoms of what we refer to as sepsis, septic shock, but when they do blood cultures, there's no organism there. So it's the same thing. So all of this profound inflammation can be occurring and is occurring, not because of microorganisms anyway. It's just if you find the microorganisms there and there's inflammation going on, then they're related. All right, but if they're not found, then that means the inflammation is coming from somewhere else. And it's usually coming from somewhere. I mean, it is coming from somewhere else anyway. And remember, microorganisms are there to clean up the mess. And yes, they can colonize and become a problem because they're being fed more than like this particular organism likes what's there and and these organisms don't. So it colonizes. That's how that works. It's not that the germ theory is not a real theory. It's not a real thing. It's a theory. But anyway, so the point is this: you have an inflamed bladder, and that's what's going on. The DMSO uh, in the bladder is how it works for inflammatory. Then uh, the other thing is you got to realize that you've got, and if you're having hemorrhoid as well, that's going to tell you that it's not just bladder, and it's not just that. It's a systemic inflammation. So, Kevin, what you need to do is do a really good juice cleanse, right? Maybe 3 4 weeks of drinking nothing but uh, fresh juice, 3 liters a day. If you can, if not, if you can only drink one or two, then just make sure you got a lot of water so that you're peeing all the time, and you will clean things out and it will be gone because it's just a matter of cleansing. It's really just a matter of cleansing. It's not a military operation. We get stuck in the germ theory became the disease theory. And so we're going to kill these things. It's a military operation. We don't need that. We need to restore harmony and balance because it's out of balance. And that's really what has to happen. And the first thing you do in restoring balance is to get rid of any toxins, is to get rid of anything that was. The audio is clear. Are we on? What are we on for audio? Okay, good. All right, so whatever. Uh all right, so we got that right. Um and um all right. All right, you guys. Sorry. What can I say? I don't blame you. Hey, I wouldn't if you don't ever come back, I don't blame you because this we can't seem to fix it. No, we can't. Can we? Okay, next is so Kevin, you got to do a cleanse. You got to do a thorough cleanse, okay? And stop taking antibiotics because the antibiotics are just throwing you more out of balance. They're they're eliminating the healthy they're keeping your biome in an imbalance, okay? You got to stop taking antibiotics. Got to get healthy. Remember, everyone, what do I need to do? I'm not well. Get healthy. Get healthy. Not it's not a military. Get healthy. Really. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. Anyway, so this Susan, prostate CFCs. Could you further explain more about niclosamide and the best way to take it for prostate CFCs that has metastasis to the bone? Already taking ivermectin and bendazole. So all right, niclosamide, 500 milligrams 3 times a day is usually a good standard dose. Um, Now, metastasis to the bone um, happens with it's very frequently with both breast and prostate. So breast is really um, a prostate is really like male breast CFCs, and uh, in many ways, but it has to do with estrogen and estrogen receptors. And there are a lot of estrogen receptors in bone, and that's kind of how that happens. But anyway, the way to really, once you've got metastasis in the bone, is to use doxycycline, which is an antibiotic, unfortunately, but it works 100 milligrams twice a day. And doxycycline, and you can look it up, look on the internet, go in PubMed and look up doxycycline and bone metastasis. And you'll see that there was a Dr. Singh back in Canada, back around late 1990s and early 2000s. When I first ran into him, and he found out that uh, that um, the doxycycline. Okay, so there's a group of antibiotics, the tetracycline family, and there's tetracycline, minocycline, doxycycline. Right? So Anyway, one of the things they do is, and the reason that when doctors are learning and training, they learned not to give these tetracycline, doxycycline, minocycline to pregnant women, because what happens is when their children are born and as they develop, their teeth will have these streaked like yellow lines, and those are periods of no growth, and so the teeth will be stunted and all that. Well, doxycycline does that. Why? Because it blocks osteoclastic activity, which is the uh, cells in the bone. So there's osteoclasts and osteoblasts. The osteoclasts gobble up bone, and the osteoblasts produce more bone. And why is that? Because remember, every organ is continually renewing itself. We make minimum 37 million new cells every second. That includes, so, but the bone is remodeling, they call it. They don't use that term with liver and heart, but anyway. So the osteoclasts break down, and so in order for there to be a metastasis, you have to have the osteoclasts have to make room, otherwise it can't get in there. Bone's pretty tight, and so the Dr. Singh realized that. He goes, well, let me try that with bone meds, and it worked. And then he published it, and there's been a lot of other subsequent publications on it. But anyway, that's what you want to do for the bone meds. However, then niclosamide is 500 milligrams 3 times a day. But I hope you're doing lots of other things, Susan, or your husband is. Lots of other things, because it's not just it's not just these military things. Yeah, they're helpful, but they're also. I look at these antiparasitics as part of the cleansing process of getting, of restoring balance. The other thing that they do is these antiparasitics is that they stimulate AMP kinase, right? They knock down the mTOR, so they it's crazy. But remember, it's all that. It's what he eats, and for sure no animal or animal products, and so that's got to be the case. And uh, balance hormones, balance everything. So Susan, we should join the CFC group so we can discuss, and you can get a much clearer picture on a whole protocol that works. Next is Dennis. So Dennis is saying, I have a major rash on my neck right now, trying sour soap bitter, not sure what I should use. Huh. Well, I don't, okay, so you have a rash on your neck, a major rash on your neck. Yeah, this would be good to be in the group, so I could say, well, I could get you to be more specific so I can visualize it, or even show me if we were in a group. But anyway, so if it's a new onset rash, a lot of times we're exposed to, if we change soaps or we change something, clothing, anything, we can have a reaction to that because of the chemicals in there. All right. And if it's because of something external that it's reacting to, then we've got to identify that and recommend it, and eliminate it, right? So I don't know what's going on. The other thing for healing these is the best medicine in the world is aloe vera, the real plant, not any kind of product you're going to get in the store, but you get the real plant, the leaves, and just you peel off the skin, and then macerate it so it's juicy, and just put it on and put a bandage around it and keep it there for a while, and do that several times a day, change it several times a day, and it goes away. Now, but I don't know what's really going on. I don't know if there's also the aloe vera is because it's anti-inflammatory, it's antimicrobial, it's really amazing. But so I'm not sure if it's kind of an allergic type of dermatitis, or if it's a For, anyway, I don't really know the cause of it, but in any case, aloe vera is the absolutely best. Amazing. Okay. Now, just looking. You're loud and clear. Just keep talking. Okay, so I'm loud and clear. Great. Okay. So, um, mm, anyway, get back to here. So I wish I could talk to you more, Dennis, about what's going on with your rash. But believe me, aloe vera is amazing. But it's got to be the real deal. You got to change it several times a day. And if you're working, it's really not that easy to do. But you got to try to find a way to do that because that'll help it. The other thing again is a cleanse. You got to clean out and restore because again, there's an imbalance. And now, if this is an allergic, if this is an response, an allergic response to something environmental, I don't know if you changed, shaving creams or soap or clothing or bedding or anything that's exposing it. But if that's what's causing it to happen, versus just having you know a dysbiosis on the skin, because we have a healthy biome on our skin, like we have like 44 species here and in our inner ear, so they're all over. Anyway, um, so you've got to do a cleanse and make sure your skin is healthy, and uh, a lot of movement and exercise so that you sweat. So infrared saunas and all that sweat, even if it's not too comfortable because of the rash, you need to clean out as well. Wow, wow, you guys are off on other things. Amazing. Whole whole. And that's why we have these Telegram groups, right? If you join the group, we have these Telegram groups. If you're in the group, and everyone is communicating all the time about things that are really relevant, helping each other, and I'm in there those groups as well. All right, so uh, yeah, you guys, let's Debbie, skin CFCs. Are skin CFCs the same as other CFCs? Should they be treated the same way? All right, yeah, Debbie, good question, and I think I meant addressed that a little earlier, and that is, regardless of where the CFCs begin, in order to be a CFC, it has to be engaged in aerobic glycolysis. So it's a fundamental metabolic change that has happened. The cell has lost the ability to use oxygen because of mitochondrial damage. And so now, in order to survive and make energy, it is fermenting. That's what's happened. And that, whether it's in the skin or in the breast or in the ovary or the brain or the pancreas or prostate, doesn't matter. Okay. So, yes, the answer is they're the same as other ones. And yeah, and we deal with them the same way. We do the cleansing, we see the biological dentist, we balance our hormones, we balance our immune system, we heal the gut, we make sure we're getting enough vitamin C, vitamin A, D, and E, melatonin. We get the thyroid uh, balanced with iodine and the adrenals. All that stuff, yes, it's the same. So the answer is yes. This is Eliza, breast CFC. I don't know if my mom's breast CFC is hormone driven, but if it is, Can the anti-parasitic drugs that she is already taking help her? Yeah, yeah. There's no real relationship there between the anti-parasitic drugs and whether or not the that's the term that's used in the conventional world, that it's driven by hormone. It's not really, because that's not true. They get you to think that, because what's the implication there? If it's being driven by hormones, then all I got to do is block the hormones and I'm done, right? No. And it's still what happens if you do successfully block the hormone for a while, then it'll become hormone resistant breast or hormone resistant prostate. So that's what happens, because it's just one of the fuels, one of the influences. So keep that in mind. And so what we need to do is not get rid of estrogen. We need to restore balance, because you need to have all the things that are necessary, the hormone system, the nervous system, the immune system, the gastrointestinal system. All of these systems are necessary for life and health. And when they're all functioning perfectly, we're healthy. All right. When they're not functioning like optimally, and they're imbalanced, then we're not healthy. So that's what it is. It's an imbalance. So that's why you wouldn't block one of the hormones, because if you blocked estrogen, for example, if you took a shot of Lupron or something else that blocked the hypothalamic pituitary uh, uh, ovarian axis, which blocked completely eliminated the production of estrogens in the body. If you successfully did that, what you're doing is you're putting it more out of balance, and now it has to adjust. Because remember, when things are out of balance, the body has to adapt, and it's those adaptations that we call disease. But anyway, so you're just putting it more out of balance. The thing to do is to restore the balance. Make sure there's enough estrogen in the right forms. Make sure there's enough progesterone and testosterone and DHEA and prolactin and thyroid and adrenals. Uh, right? We gotta restore that for health. Health means everything's working, so we can't block things. So keep that in mind. Um, so I'm not sure, Eliza, all the things that your mother's doing, but join the CFC group, and let's drlodi.com and join the CFC group. Let's work on this together. Okay. Okay. This is Dr. Francois. Parasite dosage. Mebendazole 100 milligrams. Can you get dosage for one day? Available in France. The rest, I found ivermectin 3 milligrams, 3 times a day. Tumor in genocides. For a patient with tumor in genocides, I'm working in Brussels. Thanks a lot. One more. Trinidazole is only available in 500 milligrams. All right. So, Dr. Francois, yes. Mebendazole can be 100 milligrams 3 times a day. It can be 500 milligrams 3 times. All right. And the ivermectin can be 12 milligrams 3 times a day. It could be even higher or lower. The praziquantel 600, usually these are just standard doses, 600 milligrams 3 times a day. Tinidazole can be 100 or higher as well, right? So if it's only available on 500, do 500 once a day for the tinidazole. But again, we got to be. I'm sure you've done this. You've looked at the liver function, and if it's normal when you're starting, even if it goes up a little bit, it'll come down. That's why you do 3 weeks on and 1 week off. So it'll come down during that week. And also taking liver support of silymarin or milk thistle, 500 milligrams 3 times a day, alpha lipoic acid, 300 or 400 milligrams 3 times a day, lots of thiamine B1, and you can take N-acetylcysteine, NAC, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Those are all very, very important for maintaining liver function and protecting and healing the liver while we're doing this. Because not that these drugs destroy liver parenchyma, but what they do is they just um, require it to overwork. It just overworks and winds up getting inflamed and spills enzymes. That's what happens. So if the so don't worry about it. If you start out with a normal healthy liver, you'll be okay. So Kristen, benign lesion in liver. I have two small benign lesion tumor in my liver. They give some pain. If I change position, I can. It can, but not always alleviate it. The me says they shouldn't give pain and are very common. I have ultrasound every 6 months. They don't. What? They don't seem to be growing. Is this a concern? Is there anything I can do to eliminate them? Thank you. From Australia. Okay. If you have okay, so you have two small 1 centimeter lesions in your liver. That should not cause pain. Usually, if there is a very large mass in the liver, or the whole liver is enlarged, so, such as happens in certain kinds of hepatitis, whether it's alcohol related or what they call viruses, or whatever, fatty, dietary, whatever. But if you want an enlarged liver, that'll make you feel full. So when you move, it's positional. The discomfort. But that's two small lesions that seem to be positional because when you move, you can alleviate it sometimes. That if 1 centimeter, it just seems way too small to be causing a problem. And you have ultrasounds every 6 months, so that means that you've had it at least a year, I'd say, right? And they're benign lesions. Now, no, I don't know what they're calling a lesion. Are they meaning cyst? I mean, are they saying cyst? Because if it's cyst, then that's that's parasites. So I'm not sure what you mean by lesions. Are these solid masses? Are they air filled? Are they liquid filled? Yeah, and then but again, what should you do? Cleanse. Apricot seeds. Okay. Oh, they are saying tumors. Well, okay, so they're saying benign tumors in the liver. And they're saying benign, I imagine, because they're not growing. I hope they haven't done a biopsy. Well, they have. If they did, you'd be talking in biopsy language. So if they're saying they're tumors, they're saying that they're solid masses and they're 1 centimeter approximately, and there's two of them and they haven't grown. Well, look at it. Let's look at what's really happening. What's happening is there is an abnormal growth. Abnormal means that we don't have, it's not normal. I don't like the word normal because normal doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Okay, but there's growth going on. Why is it doing it? Remember, it's always doing something. Our body's always adapting, and if there's anything that is out of place, whether it's pain or growth or anything like that, it's because we're out of balance. So what you have to do with this is the same thing you would do if you had, a lot of CFCs or cardiac problems or anything, whatever kind of problem, you got to go to biological dentist, do thorough cleansing, restore balance to the physiology. And part of the cleansing process always needs to involve a parasite cleanse as well, because we don't just now, okay, they're saying they're tumors. Now, tumors, for example, if you had what's called a primary hepatoma, which is a primary liver CFC, in other words, it started in the liver, those usually are one mass and not several, and they grow large. Other than that, if there are CFCs, tumors in the liver, they have metastasized there from breast, lung, pancreas, colon. I mean, those are the main ones. It can metastasize from it. I mean, small intestine. If you had a small intestinal thing going on, it could, almost everything's going to go through the liver, which is why. Okay, so now, so if it was a tumor and it was CFCs, it would be more likely not be a primary one that formed in the liver, but it's from somewhere else, whether it's breast or. But the fact that it hasn't been growing and you've been monitoring it every 6 months is fantastic. You just need to do a really thorough, long cleanse and get everything balanced, and they'll be gone. They will be gone. That's just what happens. Okay, so Kristen, join our health and healing group. But it's but you need to begin, and we can. In other words, I can work with you more closely, and you can get all the other benefits that we have. All right. But if you don't, then listen. Do a thorough cleanse, and maximize vitamin C. Right, 2 grams of sodium liposomal sodium ascorbate. 2 grams 4 times a day. 2 grams 4 times a day. Liposomal sodium ascorbate. Vitamin D, K2, at least 40,000 units a day, at least. Mixed carotenoids, which are vitamin A, and there are not only carotenoids, there's lutein, there's zeaxanthin, astaxanthin. So there's a lot of different chemicals or phytonutrients or whatever in the whole class that we call vitamin A. That's why you take mixed carotenoids. All right, not just because usually if someone goes to buy vitamin A, it'll just be beta carotene, and that's all right. So again, 40,000 units a day. And then the vitamin E is the mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols. And then you want to get another, the gamma and delta tocotrienols just by themselves. So you take the mixed maybe in the morning, and then the gamma and delta tocotrienols in the evening, or 12 hours apart, 8 hours apart, 6 hours apart. It's fine. To get the maximum benefit out of that. You also want to do the iodine thyroid dance and get that working, and then the adrenals, and then you want to do the and melatonin. All of these. That it's really always the same thing, is to restore our physiology, because we're out of balance. And even if you thought that this was a third-party thing in there, which is not, it's your body adapting. But if you thought that, in order for you to, even if you wanted to kill it and get rid of it, you still got to have a healthy body to heal, right? If I cut out something, I still need to heal. So whatever you're going to do, you want to work on whatever's necessary to restore balance and healing. All right. So anyway, let's. So anyway, I hope you, Kristen, I hope you join the group so we can talk about this a little further. But I'm really happy that it's a, you've been monitoring for at least a year. It sounds like, if you said every 6 months, um, and it's not growing. You just need to do really good cleanse. And there's a lady. There's a few people in our groups that are from Australia. So, and we're all on this Telegram chat that you'll get to know them. And a lot of resources. Yes, aloha, sawadee kap. Now, Rose, autism and iodine. Can iodine aid in the recovery of autism? All right. Okay. So, autism is what? It's something they made up. It's a disease. It's a disease when there are no diseases. Okay. So, what are we talking about? It's a neurological damage from some exposure to something. A lot of times it's thimerosal that's found in vaccines. What they call, there are no vaccines ever. They don't. Vaccines don't exist. Can you take apricots? Yeah, you can. But the one thing about apricot seeds, everybody, for B17, amygdala. What else they call it? Laetrile, amygdalin, B17. Those are all names. Anyway, when you're taking that, remember something. IV, you can take high amounts because it's only going to affect CFCs. However, when you take them orally, you've got microorganisms in your gut that have similar type of metabolism as CFCs. And therefore, you can wind up producing a lot of cyanide in you, and it can be fatal, but it'll make you really sick as well. So when you're taking the seeds, the thing is, the seeds aren't uniform, and you don't know that a seed this size has exactly 0.2. It's not like that. So the thing is that you take seeds. So what you take one day, the next day might be toxic. So you don't. So really, it's the one time. Unless you were just prophylactic and you were going to just do this as part of, then you would just take a few seeds every day. Yeah, but if you're really trying to deal with the CFCs, then I would recommend taking the 500 milligram tablets, so you know how much you're getting and you don't get poisoned by it. Okay, so 500 milligrams to several times a day, twice a day. Start once a day, twice a day. If you get sick, back down, and then you can add 2 in the morning and 1 in the evening. If you get sick, back down. If not, add a second one. So you'll start to not feel well. Okay, yeah, but it's that's it. So again, Deb, I'm not sure what you're dealing with, but okay. So autism is exposure to something. Can iodine aid in the recovery of autism? Iodine, in other words, getting our iodine thyroid, restoring the deficit, because we all have an iodine deficit. So restoring the iodine deficit, allowing the thyroid to function optimally, will have incredible benefits system-wide, including in our immune function, but in many ways, in metabolism, very many things with the iodine. But you've got to do that work on that with the thyroid, and I think you've heard us talk about how to do that. There's kind of a protocol that you could do on your own. You don't have to go to a doctor, and you get to take care of yourself, which is a nice thing. And because you'll do it with kindness and love. But the autism, I don't know if we're talking about a child who was injected with those different substances they call vaccines that also have thimerosal and other nasty stuff in it. So if that's the case, then of course, chelation is going to be very helpful. But when autism first became a thing, when they gave it its birth, and they named it one day, when they named it 40, 50 years ago, it didn't exist. Okay? Just like Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, actually, when it was first came into the the lexicon, it was pre-senile dementia, meaning before you were old, you got demented. And now it's morphed into all sorts of things. The same with autism. First, it was just somebody who was selfism, right? And they would, at the beginning, when we first came out, it was just people who would sit around and like rock, and they needed to do the same thing, and you couldn't introduce anything new to them and all that. They were just, that was it. But now they're saying that there's the autism spectrum disorder, so they're widening that. So they're including other things. Who knows? You remember, these are all words, and they're words that are not helpful even. Because so you name it, you call it an autism, now what? You call it a fibroadenoma. Okay, now what? You just named it. So this is a central nervous system toxic reaction. It's not a thing called autism. So we've got to detox. We've got to cleanse, really thorough cleansing. Part of cleansing includes chelation, which is going to be helpful to get any of the mercury from the thimerosal and other stuff. So that's very, very. So anyway, the so zeolite is, so these are great, these things you're talking about for chelation. But in when you're dealing with a specific known possible a specific kind of heavy metal, like whether it's lead or mercury, all that, then there are chelating agents that you can use that are going to be really specific. All right. And so in this case, with mercury, you would think of DMSA or DMSO are very specific for mercury. And I would definitely do that, Rose. But also another thorough cleanse. And I don't know how old this person is and how long they've been this way, but there's a lot of things need to happen. But for sure, cleanse and restore balance of all sorts of things. All right. So, yeah. All right. Now, Jackie, Paul, hormones. I'm on bioidentical hormone replacement, but still have flashes. Do I do heavy metal cleanse before parasite cleanse? Okay, so if you're on bioidentical hormone replacement, you still have hot flashes, then you're not. It hasn't been replaced. The hormone there's not enough. So the heavy metal cleanse and the parasite cleanse, sure, absolutely. But I mean, that's not enough. I mean, that's, yes, that's adjunctively, but the heavy metals and the parasites would not be what's underlying the hot flashes. The hot flashes are from a estrogen deficiency because your body was used to a higher amount. And so depending on your situation, you would either get a biased with 90% estriol and 10% estradiol, or you're going to get pure estriol. So if you had any kind of hormone-related CFCs, you would just do estriol. The usual doses would be like estriol alone. I would use probably 3 milligrams. If it was biased 90-10, I would use 2.5 milligrams as a basic, and that's a day in the topical form per cc or like, so if it comes in a cream, that's usually in a syringe, and they'll say, 1 click or whatever to get, or 5 clicks will give you whatever it is, will give you your dose. The dose is whatever the doctor had written, whether it's 2.5 milligrams, 3 milligrams. Anyway, do that daily. And again, if you're a hormone replacement, you can do that on days 1 through 26 of your cycle. Oh, I'm not having cycles anymore. Therefore, whenever you pick day 1, it's your day 1. And it's easier if you pick it on the first day of the month, just because it's easier to remember. But anyway, days 1 through 26, then off 4 days, then 1 through 26, off 4 days. Okay, because that's how the body is. The body's healthy when it cycles. Then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to get progesterone. You're going to take that on days 12 through 26, and that could be 200, 300 milligrams. And that's the one of the bioidentical hormones that you can take orally. And the reason you do want to take it orally is because you take the progesterone at night, and it makes you nice and sleepy. And you take the estrogen in the morning. All right. So you're just not getting enough, Jackie. So you've got to go tell your doctor that I'm not getting enough. Okay, because those will go away. Absolutely, 100%. Vanessa, benign tumor and iodine. I'm interested in the dosage and frequency of using Lugol's iodine. I have a benign tumor on the top of my adrenal gland on the right side. I do have hormonal imbalance, scored very low on the 3 or 4 they check in the blood for females. They also inform me that I have stage 4 osteoporosis in spine. 2 healed wedge fractures. So okay. And then I'm 53. Don't take meds. I have ivermectin and fenbendazole, but I don't take it because I don't want to dose myself. Oh, and I don't know if I need to fast or I do take milthisil, but my liver is healthy. All right. So Vanessa, I have a benign tumor on what? Oh, on the top of your adrenal gland. Oh, okay. So yeah, all right. Iodine is going to restore. It's going by using iodine, by taking the iodine, and while we're taking it, we're going to make sure that our thyroid is working adequately, and we're going to determine that by doing our basal body temperatures, right? All right. So when we do that, and we take the iodine for um, at least a year at 25 milligrams a day, at least a year and a half. And then we can wean off it and our thyroid will work. But we wean down to the maintenance, which is 12.5 milligrams a day, right? Unless you start to eat a lot of seaweed every day, then you wouldn't need it. But so that'll help with any situation going anywhere in the body, because the iodine is necessary for the thyroid. And if the thyroid is works very closely with and has a lot of influence on the immune system, as well as energy production for the body, which means energy production for all cells, including the immune cells, brain cells, heart cells, kidney cells. So that's why the thyroid is very, very important. But yeah, so if you have an imbalance in all your hormones, we really need to restore that balance. Now, the stage 4 osteoporosis is, again, it's just another. These are names. It just means that your your bones have the calcium has migrated out of the bones. We want to get it back, and we can do that. We can do that by restoring your hormone balance, making sure you got enough vitamin D, and and the other thing is to, because that's going to prevent it from increasing. But disodium EDTA, which is a chelating agent, it's an IV. 40 IV treatments done properly by a well-trained person. But disodium EDTA, not the calcium sodium EDTA. Disodium, no calcium. 40 treatments, and you go back and you do your bone scan, and you'll find out your bone density. You'll find out that it's back to normal. That's what happens with the disodium EDTA. Disodium EDTA takes 40 treatments, either 2 a week or for 20 weeks, or 1 a week for 40 weeks. And then all the other stuff you're doing. Now, with regarding ivermectin and fenbendazole, it's usually 12 ivermectin is usually 12 milligrams 3 times a day. Fenbendazole usually 222 milligrams 3 times a day. But you've got to look at your your liver function and all that to make sure. So if your liver functions, which is your AST and ALT on a blood test, if your liver functions are within a healthy range, then you take those doses that I described. If it was really high, or then you would have to modify by either decreasing the frequency or the dosage of both. And I'm really high, I mean over 100. Normal is between them around anywhere from, like, depends on the reference area that you're in, anywhere 35 to 45. Yeah, it's about the range. Anyway, so if it's a little bit elevated, then it's fine. You just have to monitor it and all that. But anyway, so that's how you would use it. And the Lugol's, 2 drops on each breast, 5% Lugol's, 5% Lugol's liquid, 2 drops on each breast for all women. And that's it. All right, cool. Now, where are we? We're at, what time is it? Oh, okay, 9:15. Anyway, all right, you guys, we didn't get a lot done, and I'm so sorry for all this technical stuff. Really sorry for it. I don't know what to say except that it's going to go away someday. Today it's going to go away because we're going to get a new camera. We got a new camera. It's got to set it up, and I don't think this will happen again. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. All right. And and also remember, if you join the groups, we can interact, and I can fine tune the question and really give the best answer possible. So that's really important, and it's often, right? So, but if you want to consult, we can do a private consult as well. But even a private consult, then what? What do we do 2 weeks later when the consult recommended you do this? So that's why the groups, so that we can have an ongoing thing. And plus, there's all kinds of other stuff available. All kinds of other stuff available on the groups. So anyway, honey, dates, fruits, sugar. See, that's a good question, Margie. And yeah. Okay, and that it would take quite a bit. But the answer is you can have fruit, but we have to talk about that. I mean, so Margie, come back next week or join a group. Come back and let's submit that question. So let me deal with it, okay? All right, because it's really, that's a big one. That's really important. They say no sugar for CFCs. Are we allowed to have honey, dates, or fruits with that have sugar? The answer is yes, but not yes, but. It's a yes, but. So anyway, so submit that question for next week. And let's deal with it and join the group. Join the groups by going to drlodi.com. You can't find where to join groups on your website. Really, it's right there, isn't it? You guys, right at the drlodi.com, isn't it right there? Huh? Are these Facebook groups? No. Private groups. drlodi.com, and you can join the CFCs. You can do it. There's 3 different groups: CFC, parasite, and all that. Wait a minute. I know. Wait a second. Let me just find out. I'm looking at the website real quickly just to let you know. Well, right there, it first comes up. There's a blue thing that says Dr. Lodi's Inner Circle. That would be it. You just click on that, and that'll take you to how to join. So it says Dr. Lodi's Inner Circle right there. All right, you guys. Listen, fantastic. Thank you. Swadikap, aloha, and namaste, namaskar. See you next week.